this clown goes into a synagogue near us outside San Diego, and he opens fire. And it's an incredible story of heroism and tragedy and, of course, anti-Semitism. A guy goes in to shoot the rabbi, and a 60-year-old woman who was there mourning her mother, I believe it was. Her name was Lori Kay, and she jumped in front of the rabbi, and she was shot dead, and she was killed. What can you say about that kind of heroism and love? And the guy had his usual manifesto with, he hates the Jews. I mean, it does get me with this stuff because it's coming back, the anti-Semitism after the Holocaust. People were ashamed, and so they stopped a little bit, and it was kind of like there was a little bit of quiet after the Holocaust. But now it always comes back because it's an eternal hatred. And if you ever just want to know what anti-Semitism is, listen to the way they talk, and then watch a scene from The Exorcist of the possessed woman spewing curses at people, because it's the same kind of thing. There's no logic. It's the left blames the right blames the left. The right has this much truth behind it, is that anti-Semitism is now being mainstreamed in the left. Ilhan Omar is an anti-Semite. She is a congresswoman. Rashid Tlaib, a congresswoman, an anti-Semite. They can't even condemn it. They can't even come out and pass a bill condemning anti-Semitism, because they got to condemn everything, which is essentially condemning nothing. But there's no doubt also that on the right, obviously on our right, not on the conservative right, not on the constitutional right, the small government right, on the fringes of the right, there's just no question that these violent, ugly little people and their, sewers, their mind sewers, are boiling this stuff up. And a lot of these guys are the violent guys, and they come up with the old stuff about, I always love it when they say Jews cause all the wars. It's like saying women cause all the rapes. It's like saying, if we, it's freedom causes all the wars. People wouldn't attack us if we weren't free. So all we have to do is get rid of our freedom. The same thing with the Jews. People attack the Jews, and all we need to do is get rid of the Jews, and everything will be all right. And of course, there's also the religious thing that Jews killed Christ, which I also never understood. I never understood why the people who killed Christ are the Jews, but the people who are Christ, who are his disciples, who are his followers, why aren't they the Jews? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. But of course, this kind of hatred is hatred. It's a kind of madness, a kind of possession almost, and it spews up. It's always anti-Semitism exclusively is the devil's flagpole. I mean, there's just something about Jew hatred that where the devil is at work, that is what you will see. After this tragedy, I think the little boy was hurt, and another person was hurt as well. This woman was killed. The rabbi had his finger blown off. And so the rabbi, so Trump called the rabbi, Yisroel Goldstein, and this is the rabbi responding to that phone call from Donald Trump.
As I was in my house, I received a personal phone call from our president, Donald Trump. I was amazed to answer the phone and say the secretary of the White House is calling. And he spent close to 10-15 minutes with me on the phone. And it's the first time I've ever spoken to a president of the United States of America. He shared with me condolences on behalf of the United States of America. And we spoke about the moment of silence. And he spoke about his love of peace and Judaism and Israel. And he was just so comforting that I'm really grateful to our president for taking the time and making that effort to share with us his comfort and consolation.
So the rabbi who looked this gun down the barrel of this gun, who saw one of his parishioners killed, the rabbi is comforted by the president calling. Of course he is. It's a good thing. It's a good thing in our country that when there's violence against Jews or anyone else, actually, for that matter, that the president is on it, that he cares, that he shows he cares, that he makes a personal gesture and talks to the guy for 10, 15 minutes. Obviously comfort. Who wasn't comforted? Don Lemon. Don Lemon just doesn't believe him because, Don Lemon, he was there in spirit. He was persecuted in spirit. The guy who was really persecuted found comfort from the president's words, but not Don Lemon. And who are you going to believe? Listen to this.
So this is tough because you have a death here and you have people who are injured. Yeah. You could have had more deaths. We want to give, on one hand, you want to give the president his due. But when you consider the language that we have been discussing over the last couple of days, especially with Joe Biden getting into the race, what the president has said, making excuses, revisionist history about what happened in Charlottesville and on, one has to wonder as a thinking, rational person if he means those words and if they ring hollow to Americans who have been looking for him to say those things and stay the course, as Angela has said, instead of trafficking in bigotry, in racism, in anti-Semitism, in hate, and making excuses for us. I want to believe it.
So this is Don Lemon looking for a thinking, rational person. I guess he forgot he was at CNN. But this is Don Lemon spreading the word with very definitive language here that Donald Trump is a hater, Donald Trump is a bigot, Donald Trump is a racist. It doesn't matter that this rabbi who was there. I mean, this is the story that's being told. This is the facts being transformed into a story as you watch in real time, right? The facts are terrible incident. Another one of these anti-Semitic clowns coming up out of his mind sewer to do violence to innocent people. A rabbi, obviously traumatized, shocked, terrible, injured, gets a call from the President of the United States. He's uplifted. He says, in his own words, he's comforted, but not Don Lemon and not the rest of the press either, because I only played Lemon. I'm only singling him out because he actually said the words that he doesn't believe in what the president was saying, even though the rabbi does. I single him out for that, but it's the whole press. Listen to this.
We have a president who not only will not acknowledge that we have an epidemic of white nationalist terror after New Zealand said just a few people, he's providing the mood music for it. That is the reality we face.
Yeah, I think the president needs to at some point look in the mirror and understand that the rhetoric, the words he uses in all of this inflame this big part of what's going on in America, give permission to the most craziest people in America.
And it happens in part because there's a climate set at the top of unbelievable, constant lies and hostility and division in this country, not only as policy, but with his affect.
The conspiracy theories cited by these neo-Nazis in Pittsburgh and New Zealand and now outside San Diego, a conspiracy theory that Trump never condemned and actually seemed to support.
And we don't know if it has any connection to the politics that's going on. But I mean, it would be a stretch to say that it doesn't.
Somebody that's anti-immigrant in California, the anti-immigrant hate and refugee that's going on in the country, what happened at the Tree of Life, and then you couple that with the president's language, it's a big problem.
It's a big problem. It's the president's language. It's not this language. You got to get that right. It's not them creating this president. It's not them creating this sexist president who has more top-level female advisors than any president in history, okay? It's not them creating the story, the image, the character of this Donald Trump who's a terrible racist, and yet black people thrive under his administration. And yet Israel, they're renaming streets after Trump because they love him so much, because he moved the embassy to Jerusalem, because he has been such a great supporter of Israel and the Israeli people. You know, it's not that. It's that Trump, it's that character they're creating, but it can't possibly be that, because that character is real in their minds because they're surrounded by people who agree with them. There's no one to tell them that it's not real.